The first two rounds of the Open have already teed off at the Royal Troon Golf Club. So to get us ready heading into the weekend, let's talk with New York Post sports columnist Mark Cannizzaro to get his thoughts on who could take the Open. And, of course, we got to talk Tiger's finish. Mark, you get all the good assignments, man. You're all the way out in Scotland because the Open is taking place at the Royal Troon. First and foremost, thanks for hopping on with us. Kind of set the scene for us. What's the vibes like out there? And how is this course different from other majors in terms of challenges?
Well, Brandon, the British Open courses are almost exclusively on links golf courses, which are seaside, very, very fiery, very much more fast. It's not about who's longest and can carry the ball longer, like we saw at the U.S. Open and the PGA the last two. So the conditions are much more provide much more of a variable in these tournaments, and that's why sometimes you see some kind of kooky leaderboards a little bit. We've got a guy. Again, Daniel Brown, who's from England, who's missed 7 out of his last 8 cuts on the European Tour, and literally just got into this field by draining a 20-foot putt on the last hole of the 36-hole qualifier. Right now, he's 2 shots off the lead. So, but then, of course, in first place, you got Shane Lowry, who's a former British Open winner. And right up behind them, you got Justin Rose, who's a major champion. And a little bit behind those guys, you've got Scottie Scheffler, who's number 1 in the world. So it's a very, very diverse leaderboard, which is going to make for a pretty spectacular weekend, I think. I mean, you got even John Rahm is making a move a little bit, and Xander Schauffele. I mean, you've got some quality names in there, along with a few guys you've never even heard of before.
All right, that's going to set us up for another spectacular finish at a major. One thing that's been trending all throughout Twitter and social media is a storyline that we've heard too many times. Tiger started off hot, and then he cooled down, and he ended up missing another major cut. So, 2-part question. Is it over for the Tiger hype going forward, and what's he saying about his latest outing?
Well, I mean, the reality is, Brandon, he didn't really get that hot. He played decently early on yesterday and let it kind of slip away. And today just got nothing. After every one of these rounds, we hear the same thing from him about he doesn't have enough reps. He needs to play more tournaments. But yet we ask him, are you going to add another tournament or 2 to your schedule? And he says no. So as I termed it in the column I just wrote a little while ago for the Post, he's like a hamster on a wheel right now. He's just kind of just going in circles. And Tiger Woods is an amazing, great champion. He's one of the most prolific winners we've ever seen. And that shouldn't diminish where he's at right now. But the reality is his skills are diminished. He's not playing enough to stay sharp. So even the little things like the putting, where he's missing a 4 or 5 foot putt, where the ball's not even touching the cup. When you're doing that, you have no chance to compete, with the best players in the world out here right now. So, I mean, I don't see him having a chance to win anywhere on any level unless he starts playing the senior circuit and the Champions Tour. But Tiger refused. He's kind of like become a ceremonial golfer who's not admitting that to himself yet. There was nothing wrong with Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer in their later years when they weren't able to really compete to win, being at these tournaments, because fans love to see them. And people love to see Tiger. I mean, they flock to him. I mean, he draws the largest crowds everywhere. He gets the largest ovation when he's walking up 18. But the reality is, he's fooling himself if he thinks he is going to be able to compete to win, which the way he articulates things to us, that's the way he still feels in his mind. And my belief is that that's just delusional. He's literally just trying to talk himself into that.
So do you think that he is more drawn or addicted to the crowd, the love that he still receives from the crowd, or the game? Do you think he still loves the game, which is why he keeps coming back?
I think he loves both. But I think in his mind, he still thinks he's good enough to compete, which is, to me, is kind of, this is where we're I have the problem with this, where I would rather see him kind of admit to himself where he's at in the game right now. And, and if he wants things to change, he needs to change his routine, which means play more often, not a ton, because obviously physically he can't handle it. But, you need to, if you're going to complain about the fact that you're not sharp enough at these tournaments when you turn up and play the Masters and the U.S. Open and whatnot, then you can't expect it to get better next year when you do the same routine. He's going to be 1 year older next year at age 49, and he's going to be 1 year further removed from the last time he was even competitive in a golf tournament, which is 5 years ago. So I don't know how he thinks it's going to get better just because he's working a little bit more in the gym. He's got to get out on the golf course and compete and have reps just to even make cuts at this point.
All right, let's flip it and talk about a guy that gets out there and not only competes, but makes the best out of his reps. Scottie Scheffler is going into the Open as one of the favorites. What do you think his chances are of taking another major?
I think his chances are fantastic. He did birdie. He had a bogey late in the round. He had 3 under par. He's at 2 under right now at the end of his day, which ended a couple of hours ago. He's 5 shots off the lead going into the weekend. There's 36 holes to play. That is not a large deficit on links golf. I mean, things can change in a hole or two with big numbers. So Scottie is doing everything that Scottie always does. He just methodically plods through. He's not a big attention seeker. He's not the longest hitter in the game. He's not the best putter in the game, but he's the best overall player in the game. And he just quietly goes about his business. And here we are. By the way, I'm looking at the leaderboard right now. He's tied for 4th, going into the weekend, and that's a pretty good spot to be in.
Two guys that you mentioned earlier, Daniel Brown and Shane Lowry, they were tied for the top spot on the leaderboard at one point. These aren't two household golf names to casual golf fans like myself. So who are these dudes, and do they actually have a chance to win the British Open?
Well, Lowry is a proper name. I mean, he won the 2019 British Open at Royal Rush. So he's a pretty accomplished player. The other guy, Daniel Brown, who you're showing up right now on the board here, is a guy. I mean, I was running to Google last night trying to figure out who he was. He had a 4:30 tee time last night. I mean, this dude got off the golf course after his first round. It was after 9:30. I mean, it was almost dark out, and everybody in the media center scrambling around trying to figure out who he is and what he's done. The guy actually, as it turns out, he's missed 7 out of his last 8 cuts on the DP European Tour. And he's only in this field because he made a 20-foot putt on the last hole of 36-hole qualifying to get into the field. So that's a fantastic story. I love stories like that. And quite frankly, I've got to give him a lot of credit because he only dropped 1 shot today in the second round. He had the outright lead after last night, and he's going to go in. He's going to go to bed tonight just 2 shots behind Lowry. And right there, I mean, you could have easily seen him go from shooting a 6 under par on Thursday to a 6 over par today, and he didn't. He hung in there, so that's pretty good for a guy with not a lot of experience.
We had to Google to find out who Daniel Brown is, but we don't have to Google to find out who Mark Cannizzaro is. You're crushing it with the reports, man. Enjoy Scotland, and thank you for coming on today.
Thanks, Brandon. We'll talk to you soon.